The atmosphere inside the Daily Show studio felt charged long before viewers would sense anything was wrong. Meghan Markle entered with her usual composure, radiating media-polished confidence as she greeted audience members with subtle waves. Jon Stewart, meanwhile, sat at his desk reviewing his cards with a focus that hinted at a deeper intention. The audience's applause boomed as Meghan took her seat across from him, settling in gracefully, but Jon's posture remained unusually stiff. He smiled, but it was the controlled smile he used when preparing for a difficult question rather than a celebrity chat. Meghan mirrored his smile, clearly expecting the kind of witty, socially conscious conversation Jon was known for, not the tense undercurrent that was already creeping into the room. The cameras rolled, the stage lights burned hot, and as the cheers faded, the entire studio seemed to hold its breath, sensing a collision neither host nor guest seemed willing to step back from. 2. Jon began politely enough, but his tone carried an unmistakable edge, the kind that suggested he'd come prepared to challenge narratives rather than entertain them. Meghan listened with a neutral expression as Jon referenced recent interviews and public appearances, framing questions in a way that seemed less like curiosity and more like a test. She answered with poised restraint, choosing her words with precision, but Jon's follow-ups grew increasingly blunt. The audience shifted in their seats as the dynamic between them hardened. Meghan's eyebrows rose slightly, signaling she felt the shift too. Still, she maintained her composure, attempting to lighten the mood with a calm laugh. Jon didn't soften. He leaned in, pushing back on answers with a firmness that caught even his longtime viewers off guard. What began as a conversation was slowly cracking into something sharper. 3. By the 5-minute mark, the tension had become impossible to ignore. Jon referenced headlines Meghan had been avoiding, issues she felt had been twisted by the press. Her smile faded, replaced by a controlled seriousness as she responded with more weight. Jon countered again, questioning the framing of her narrative, and the audience reacted with a mix of gasps and nervous chuckles. Meghan sat back, her shoulders tightening, her voice becoming cooler and more precise. Jon didn't raise his voice, he didn't need to. His sharpness was in the quiet, the surgical escalation of pressure. Meghan's gaze locked onto his, and for the first time, the polite TV facade began to melt away on both sides. 4. The energy turned confrontational when Jon asked whether Meghan believed her critics were entirely motivated by unfair treatment or whether any portion of the backlash came from decisions she'd made herself. The studio froze. Meghan's jaw tightened as she clarified her standpoint with slow, deliberate emphasis, rejecting the implication. Jon listened, but immediately pressed her further, dissecting her response like a political analyst rather than a celebrity host. Meghan blinked in disbelief, the kind of blink that signaled disbelief mixed with frustration. The audience murmured louder now, reacting to the unexpected heat. The interview had gone from tense to openly adversarial. 5. Meghan finally pushed back, redirecting Jon's question and reframing his premise in a way that implicitly called his line of questioning unfair. Jon straightened in his chair, his expression shifting from casual intensity to a challenger's stare. "I'm not trying to attack you," he said with a chilling calmness, "but honesty requires discomfort." Meghan countered with, "And so does respect," in a tone that struck the room like a dropped weight. A quiet, "Oh," rippled through the audience. Jon paused, drummed his fingers on the desk, and reset his posture, a gesture that told viewers he wasn't backing down. Meghan matched him with a stare that told him she wasn't either. 6. From that point on, the exchange became a verbal tug-of-war. Jon dissected her public positioning, while Meghan defended her experiences with unwavering insistence. They weren't yelling, they didn't need to. The intensity was in the crisp, cutting clarity of every sentence. Each time Meghan attempted to pivot toward positive initiatives or broader conversations, Jon redirected her back to contentious topics. Each time Jon tried to steer the conversation deeper, Meghan countered with limitations or redirections of her own. Their tones grew colder, more clipped. What was supposed to be a polished interview began to resemble a sparring match between two people unused to yielding. 7. Then came the moment that shifted everything. Jon challenged a statement Meghan made about media narratives, suggesting she was oversimplifying the complexities involved. Meghan inhaled sharply and responded with a tone that carried unmistakable steel. "If you're determined to challenge my every answer, then perhaps you're not interested in a conversation, just confrontation." The audience gasped. Jon raised his eyebrows, caught between irritation and astonishment. A beat of silence stretched, the kind that feels like it lasts far longer than it actually does. For the first time, Jon's composure visibly cracked. 8. Jon replied with a pointed remark about accountability in public storytelling, and Meghan's reaction made it clear she had reached her limit. She removed her mic wire with a slow, deliberate calm, never breaking eye contact. The studio erupted into whispers, unsure whether this was staged or real. Jon sat back, lips tightening as he realized she was preparing to end the interview herself. "If this is the direction you want," Meghan said, "then I don't see the purpose of staying." Her voice wasn't raised, but the firmness in it hit harder than a shout. Jon stared at her, frustrated, stunned, and fully aware that this moment was spiraling beyond anything the production team could salvage. 9. She stood up from her chair, smoothing down her outfit as the audience watched in stunned silence. The crew looked to Jon for direction, but he simply sat there, frozen between irritation and disbelief. Meghan thanked the audience with a curt nod, her expression a mixture of pride, disappointment, and exhaustion. When she turned toward the exit, the tension in the room felt almost physical. Jon called after her, not angrily, but with an exasperated, "Meghan, come on, we can continue the discussion." But she didn't stop. The cameras were still rolling as she walked off stage, leaving the studio echoing with shock. 10. Jon finally exhaled, rubbed his face, and attempted to regain control of the moment. The audience sat in stunned, awkward stillness, unsure whether to applaud or remain silent. Jon returned to his desk, cleared his throat, and delivered a quick, unscripted remark acknowledging the unexpected exit while sidestepping blame. The cameras captured him staring off.